Bravocon does not start till this weekend, but we're already getting like breaking news because we had two big pieces of news drop today from the Bravo world, both that I talk about on this episode. So make sure you listen to the whole thing and get all the tea. And next week, we'll have a very special Bravocon driven episode because that's this weekend. And I talk about this more in the episode, but make sure you head to my Instagram and follow it because I'll be covering all the Bravocon stuff. And if we need a two-part episode next week to kind of cover everything Bravocon, I will, but we'll see what happens. And we all know crazy things can happen at Bravocon. But we still have crazy things happening even without Bravocon. So enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here with your host, Emily, also known as Bravo and Botox, here to bring you some of the tea, gossip, dirt, word on the street, all that kind of stuff, okay? And boy, do we have it, because just today, there was a couple of pieces of news that broke, couple hours before I started recording, and one even just a few minutes ago that I'm seeing floating around. So we're going to talk about it, aren't we? So one of them involves Ms. Mary Cosby from Salt Lake City. So we're going to start with Salt Lake City because, I mean, there's all sorts of craziness after this week's episode. Apparently, TLC and HBO Max, I guess it's like I guess you can stream it on HBO Max, but it's a TLC series. They're going to be releasing a documentary or a docuseries, called The Cult of the Real Housewife. And it is going to be about Mary Cosby and her church. Okay. So this special event is going to be on Thursday, January 1st, and it's going to be a 3-part docuseries. Okay. It's going to be exploring the church, according to the Hollywood Reporter, that Mary Cosby shares with her husband, Robert Cosby Sr. There is a trailer for it. You can find it on YouTube, but I did post it on my Instagram story. So it's up there now if you're listening to this like Wednesday night or Thursday morning. You'll see it, so go check it out. But I'll tell you a little bit about like what they say in this article. They say it looks into the Faith Temple Pentecostal Church, the church Cosby shares with her husband, Robert Cosby Sr. Per the logline, the series unpacks the allegations behind the headlines, revealing the darker and more unsettling truth about the church. So they have ex-congregants speak out for the first time. Including long-standing pillars of Faith Temple, the Enoch family, to provide deeply person and just I'm assuming they meant personal and disturbing accounts from family members, including Mary's sister, Denise Jefferson Okanada, and Mary's cousin, Dan Cosby, along with his wife, Kim. Yeah, so I watched the trailer, and in it, Mary's sister does talk about, they have clips, like interview clips from her sister, which, isn't the best, obviously, in terms of like not the best for Mary and for, the image that Mary tries to portray. And, I like Mary on the show. I think she's great comic relief. I think she's funny. She seems to be a good mediator between people. But, it's one of those situations where it's like two things can exist and two things can be true at the same time. Multiple things can be true, right? She could be a funny, charismatic person who is a good friend to people and who's a good mediator and a caring mother who's struggling with her son's addiction. And she could also be all of those things and also be running a church that is not ethical and that is taking advantage of people. Like those are, now again, whether you want to classify it as a cult that is, I guess, a little bit up for debate because, you know, cults have to fall under certain definitions, etc. But you know, I'm not going to get into all that now. But what I will say is that, you know, can she be accused of maybe using her church for gain in, you know, like I said, immoral ways? I guess so, because here's the documentary. So it certainly seems like it. Um, and, you know, her sister does kind of make a comment in the trailer about like Mary. It was something along the lines, like I just watched it, but I apparently have the memory of a goldfish. But it was something along the lines of like she would go upstairs with Robert Sr. and, you know, you can kind of fill in the blanks, right? And they were doing God knows what, basically, right? So it was kind of like, you know, here's going to be my issue. If I'm going to have an issue, is if Mary like was underage during this, like they do imply like a certain amount of grooming. So, you know, Mary's an adult now, so she of course has to be accountable if she's been scamming people out of money, allegedly, all that kind of stuff. But like if, you know, if there was a relationship with Robert Sr. and he was grooming her from a young age, like I'm not going to be like, you know, taking this sort of perspective that I kind of got the impression that they were sending in some of the interview clips of her being this like seductress, like harlot or something who's like coming to like, you know, seduce him. But that being said, then there also were interview clips in this. And again, this is a trailer, it's edited, it's chopped up, all that kind of stuff. So, but there were them kind of saying like, you know, implying that he chose her and that he said that God told him that he's supposed to marry her. So, you know, I'm sure in the greater context, I have to see it in the greater context, of course. Okay. So let's get some more information here. Okay. So they talk about the dramatic rise of the Faith Temple from its founding by the beloved Rosemary Mama Cosby. So that's the one that we all remember dancing with Jesus in that picture in the church, to her passing, the controversial transfer of leadership, and her husband's marriage to Mary. The hotly contested bequeathment pushed Faith Temple into a controversial new era. The series pulls back the salacious headlines and social media takes to dive deeper and unpack one of the most enduring mysteries at the core of the scandal. How have Mary and Robert Cosby Sr. managed to avoid accountability for so long? Okay. So the docuseries also features investigative journalists and bloggers. This is the part where, like, when I was watching the preview or the trailer, I was a little like, okay, I think you guys are losing a little bit of credibility only because of, okay, like they have a blogger in it, and this is no shade from me to him. It's up and Adam. Okay. He was the one who called Whitney and kind of got like involved in the show last season or whatever about the Alibaba thing. I would say this about any of us, myself included. I think once you're calling like me or like, you know, people who are podcasters and bloggers and TikTokers for like to do like a serious documentary, it does like just kind of water down the credibility a little. Like I think they should have left that out and just left in the family members, the ex-parishioners, and actual investigative journalists. That's just my opinion, but okay. Anyways. So yeah, so they have all these people in it, and then the cult of the Real Housewife is being made by the same people who made House of Hammer, I guess about Army Hammer. And let's see, is there anything else worth kind of talking about? So yeah, January 1st from 8 to 11 on TLC, and it'll be streaming the next day on HBO Max and Discovery Plus. Okay. So yeah, I guess we're gonna see what happens. I mean, here's my like this is how it's gonna affect the Bravo world and the show. I think that when this comes out, Mary kind of has like two sort of paths that she can go down, which is that she can continue on the show, right? In which, you know, I like if this was Whitney or like Bronwyn or Lisa, of course, if it was Lisa, they would all be bringing this documentary up and asking questions and prodding and poking. But since it's Mary, and they seem to kind of handle her a little differently, they might not. However, production will ask questions, I think. And I think Andy will at like a reunion or whatever. So I'm a little like, okay, she's either going to do what she did before, which is fully abandon the show so that she doesn't need to answer questions and so that she doesn't need to address this in any way. And if there is any addressing of it, it'll just be a flat out denial, of course. And then the other option is that she stays on the show because she may really need the paycheck. So, there is a part of me that's like, with this documentary coming out and like people talking about this topic again, like, I don't know if this is gonna kind of put a little dent in her business or whatever you want to call it, and her ability to bring in money. And she obviously enjoys, the expensive, nice things. So it's kind of like, all right, how long can you keep going with, if this is a scam, as the documentary is alleging, how long can you keep going at it with no accountability? So yeah, that's why I'm just kind of like, I don't know if she's going to stay on the show if this comes out. I don't know. So this could be the end of Mary Cosby on Salt Lake City for the second time, but maybe permanently this time. I don't know. I mean, from a viewer sheer entertainment standpoint, I would be disappointed just because this cast is so perfect. They have such great chemistry. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And I enjoy watching her, like, just from an entertainment standpoint. But that being said, if they have victimized people and need to be held accountable, then, I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens when you go on a reality show. And I don't know, just so many people, especially people who are wealthy or in positions of power, just don't always seem to realize that accountability can come to get them eventually. And I mean, that's like really their, Achilles heel, is that they almost don't have that awareness. And that's what gets them caught a lot of the time. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Okay. Generally, I don't sleep in pajamas. Okay. I'm more of a underwear t-shirt kind of gal, but I am now converted because I got to try Skims lounge sleep set in Cyprus, by the way. Beautiful, deep green color, amazing for the holidays. And I'm converted. I slept in them the other night and now every night, and they are the most comfortable pajamas. Like, guys, I'm not just saying this, the most comfortable pajamas I have ever tried. Like, it is like sleeping with no pajamas on, but with the warmth and comfort of just that extra layer. And I'm just obsessed. I don't think I can ever go back. The softest fabric ever, the beautiful deep green cypress color, just like a Christmas tree. I'm going to be buying these for my sister, for my sisters-in-law. Like, I will be gifting these to everyone this Christmas. And honestly, you should too, because everyone will be thanking you. And this will be a gift that your family and friends are actually going to use and be obsessed with. So shop my favorite pajamas at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for everyone on your list, the Skims holiday shop is now open at skims.com. Okay, guys, I know it's October, but let's be honest, the holidays are coming and they sneak up fast. One minute you're buying Halloween candy and the next is December 23rd and you still have 7 gifts to buy. But not to worry, because it's fun to get started early, an excuse to shop, right? And Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. I love Uncommon Goods because I'm getting really tired of buying people the same like 5 gifts and gift cards over and over again. I love gift giving. I'm a big holiday person and I want it to be really special. So I'll tell you guys what I got. So my husband is a huge football fan and his team is the Detroit Lions, and they had so much unique NFL stuff. So I got him these Detroit Lions football helmet coasters. They're so nice. They look wooden and hand carved, and I know that this is one football gift that he will have not seen anywhere else. And the best part is, with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off your list today. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/bravopapers. That's uncommongoods.com/bravopapers for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. So Heather Gay was on Watch What Happens Live just the other night. And so was Captain Jason. Not on the same night, but they were both on this week. Okay. And there's a little bit of conflict in their stories about what happened in Australia between them. Okay. So let's start with Jason. So Jason was on with, what's her name? Is it Daphne? Why am I having a complete brain fart now? It's Daisy, not Daphne. Sorry about that. Okay. So he was on with her on Watch What Happens Live. And, they asked them questions about the Salt Lake City crew, of course, as we would all expect. And of course, one of the first questions he's asked is, did you hook up with Heather? Okay. So Captain Jason says it's not true, but they have a beautiful friendship and he had a great time with them being Whitney and Heather, because they both came to Australia. And then Daisy and Jason say, so here's the thing. That's embarrassing. Sorry, I was about to jump to the next point stupidly. Yeah, that's embarrassing because Heather, here's the thing though. I am leaning towards not believing Heather because it feels so produced the way that she did it. Like she mentions it like, oops, by accident while her and Brittany are talking, clearly because it seems like she doesn't, even though she says, she's like, yeah, hit on Jason, Brittany. I don't mind. But then she doesn't seem to really want her to. So it's almost like she threw that little piece of information in there to be like, but by the way, I already did. So just so you know, I already hooked up with him. Okay. It seems like she threw that in there on purpose. And then it seems like she's still like low key flirting with him like the entire yacht trip from these episodes so far. And it's not even low key. It's like, it's just whatever. Okay. And he doesn't seem interested. I'll say that. He also doesn't seem interested in Brittany. So there's that too. I'm not saying Brittany has any better of a chance at this point, but what I will say is that, then Heather goes into her confessional and she's like, did I say that? What? And like plays dumb and pretends that she doesn't remember saying that, or that she must have been so drunk. No, you said that on purpose. You knew what you were doing. And I would not be surprised at all if you made it up for publicity, because you think it makes you look cool, because it's wishful thinking, because this is your way of telling him that you're into him. Like, I don't know. Like Heather just seems like the type who would do that. Okay. So I'm leaning towards believing Jason, but there's more to this story, which we'll get to in a minute. Meanwhile, Daisy and Jason say that the Salt Lake City cast was more than any other guests before, because they're kind of asked like, were they like quote unquote more, as in like more high maintenance, more just crazy, like all that. And they say yes, especially because there was like fake blood everywhere from Whitney, I guess, when they got ready for that like zombie dinner and whatnot. And with like Angie being sick and then she hurt herself, and they said it was just absolute chaos. Heather, so yeah, so it seems like they were a lot, but there was nothing that they named as an example that was like them being like rude to the crew or anything like that. It was more like high maintenance, just because people were getting hurt, and the makeup and kind of all the stuff that you would expect to come along with a housewives trip. So, and at the end of the day, that's good. I think that's better than like you know, if you saw them on the boat, like being complete assholes or something like that. Um, Speaking of that, I don't know if you guys heard, but Christina Applegate, she made this. Yes, the actress Christina Applegate, from what was she on? Married with Children, and I'm going way back with that, but I used to watch that when I was a little kid, which maybe wasn't appropriate, but I didn't know. But anyways, she says the treatment, she tweeted and she said the treatment of the crew and my pals by the women was super gross. I hope they apologized to Jason and Daisy. Wow. And then she tweeted, okay, I don't want to call out the gals of SLC. I know you're shooting your show at the same time, but seriously, not even acknowledging the captain and chief stew, first officer, and Chef Ben as they brought out your food was not cool. We can discuss privately if you want, but Daisy and Jason are now friends. I think she means my friend, so I'm protective. The Bravo audience really came after her. I mean, like, I have no desire to, like, you know, respond to this tweet or anything like that. But what I will say is that I disagree strongly. Like, I think they're filming a show. I think the whole point of them even being on this yacht, as much as they're pretending it's because Jason is friends with Heather and Whitney, the whole point is to do a crossover. You get viewers from one to the other. Like, this is not like, this is for entertainment. This isn't like, you know, and if you are friends with Daisy and Jason, you should kind of know, like, this is a television show. And were they rude, the women, to each other and jumping down each other's throats? And did they sort of like ignore the crew at those parts? Yeah. But again, they're doing their job. They get paid to film a show and to have conflicts, and they're not going to stop doing their job. And by the way, doing an A+ job of their work, because somebody walks out with a steak. It's just, sorry. Like, come on. You got to know, we have to consider context, okay? So people were disagreeing strongly. And it's funny because, like, the next day, Christina Applegate was like, to the SLC ladies, I want to apologize. I was like, the Bravo audience is insane. And then she's like, I was just watching and I was a bit shocked, but I realize you're shooting a show too, and you're my favorite franchise. Much love. She walked that back real fast. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to add that in. And it seems like we're going to be getting, on the new Below Deck Down Under, we're going to get 3 full episodes of them, of the crew's perspective of the Salt Lake City charter. So we have that to look forward to, which is awesome. Okay, so let's go to Heather on Housewives Nightcap. So in an interview with Housewives Nightcap, she said that Monica Garcia still owes $35,000 to Beauty Lab. And it's even more now because I guess it's like they have a summary judgment. And on top of that, the amount grows every day with interest, and says that she never wants to film. And they ask, would you ever consider filming with her again? And she says, no, she's not my friend. She's not in our circle. I would never film with her again. Okay. It is funny though, because like Heather is so willing in interviews, as you will see coming up, to forgive like Lisa and others for like talking to bloggers, etc. But here she is kind of doing that exact thing. You know, sorry, here's Monica who did that exact thing. I don't even know what I was saying there. Sorry. Monica did that exact thing, and it's like, no forgiveness. You're dead to me. So I don't know. The weird kind of like, I don't know, like hard on she has for Monica. It's just, it's always been crazy to me. And again, and I think Monica is like was a good housewife. Like, I don't necessarily like, you know, I'm not like a stan or anything, but I think she had more to give. I mostly want to see more of her mom, if I'm being honest, because that was something. Okay, so Heather was also on Watch What Happens Live as well. Okay, and this is where we get her response to what Jason said. So when she was asked about Jason, and she's told that he says that nothing happened, she says that's fine if that's how he defines nothing. Ooh. So I guess Heather is saying that he's lying. Okay. But she says, you know, note to all the ladies that Jason dates. She goes, oh, but note to all the ladies Jason dates, as in like, you know, I guess he's gonna lie on you. But then she says, oh, but and then she's like, just kidding. Like, and she tries to kind of like make it into a joke. And then they ask what did happen, and she says, nothing, and like, tries to be all like coy. And then she says, no, but like, I love him. Whitney and I and him had so much fun in Australia. We hung out every day. He was my guide in many ways. Okay. And I don't know. I don't know why Heather annoys me so much, but she really does. She really annoys me. But anyways, again, could something have happened? Of course, there's always a chance. I don't know who's the liar and who's not the liar. But at the end of the day, it seems like if there was something, he doesn't want to talk about it. So maybe respect that. I don't know. Like, I do think if it was the other way around and it was the man like calling it out when the woman didn't want to talk about it, people would be like kind of rallying against that. And I think it's kind of like, if you did hook up and he wants to keep that private, like let him keep it private. Like, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't. Here's the other thing. They might have just never had a conversation about it, about whether they wanted to keep it private or not. But here's the thing. If it happened, which again, I don't think it did, but let's just say it did. It's like Heather's using it for clout. Like she is using it for attention and fame and because she thinks it makes her cool, like not because for any other reason besides that. And that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Okay. So she was also asked about accusing Lisa of, leaking things, all that kind of stuff. And, Andy's like, was it just based on like circumstance? And Heather says, no, I have screenshots and proof. And we discussed it even on the raft. But I guess she doesn't say this, but I'm assuming it was not shown if they did. But anyways, but she says, but you know what? It's not important. So she's like, no, I've got screenshots, and everyone's like, ooh. And then she's like, but it's really not important. All that's important is that we move forward, is that you admit it. Basically, I crucify you for a bit and then we move forward. Here's the thing. I think she could be telling the truth about this, about having a screenshot or whatever of Lisa doing that. I totally believe that. But it is kind of like hypocritical that she'll just like, she's like, if she just admits it's like, we can move forward and do better and not do that anymore. Like, it is kind of funny that they're making it out to be like this like capital case, but then Heather's like, yeah, just admit it, we'll move on. So I'm kind of like, does that mean that you've also done that? Like, is the willingness to forgive it kind of show that they all have maybe done that at least once or twice and that they're all kind of guilty of it? It's just that with Lisa, they have evidence and maybe she does it more than the rest of them or something. Like, that's kind of what it says to me. And it also says to me that Heather doesn't really care that much about this. It's just a storyline. And the second, like Lisa, she just wants to be like the mother hen who's like, we forgive you. We have a sisterhood, and go into one of her like after school special speeches again. That's kind of how it's coming off. Okay. Heather is asked about the difference between their lives and Lisa Barlow's lives, because, the whole like, I live a very different life from all of you. And Heather says, the big difference is that they live their lives and they pay for it with their own money, unlike Lisa. So, yeah, I guess. So I guess she's implying that Lisa doesn't have her own money. Okay. So again, saying that she wants to like move forward, but you don't. And again, I'm not even saying like Lisa's not guilt. Like Lisa probably does seem like Lisa probably has some financial struggles and, some secrets and all that. I do think that. And I do think that Lisa is arrogant and full of herself. Like, all of that is true. But I also think that Heather like acts like she wants to be someone's friend and to like forgive them and move in like this sisterhood thing. But she really doesn't. I really think she's just kind of like a mean girl in disguise. You know what I mean? So Andy asked Heather about her take on Bronwyn's marriage with Todd. And Heather says she doesn't understand their relationship. And she really just wants some clarity on it. Like, is it open? Is he allowed to make out with someone? And, or what? Like, what is it? And then, she says, so like Bronwyn needs to explain to me, basically. And then she says she's not really invested in their relationship, but I am invested in what Bronwyn tells us. So she means like, I'm invested if I suspect Bronwyn is lying or not telling us everything. Yeah, of course you're invested in that. Because if she has anything juicy to tell, you want to use that as a storyline for the show because you don't really have anything else going on except still talking about being Mormon 7 years later. Just saying. Okay. And again, do I think that something is up with Bronwyn's relationship with Todd? Absolutely. But to be honest, she's sharing at this point, she's sharing more in terms of who's sharing what about their marriage. She's sharing more than the whole cast. Let's be real here. And I'm not even that big of a Bronwyn fan, but there's more scenes of her and Todd arguing and like, you know what I mean? Like we're just seeing more of their like fights, arguments, and like we're even just seeing more of them working out how to exist in a marriage and on this show. You know what I mean? And I do think it's going to come down to like Bronwyn having to choose like the marriage or the show. But like for Heather to kind of like imply here that like Bronwyn needs to share more, it's like, well, what are you sharing? Who are you dating? Like it's like she's such a hypocrite in these ways. So Heather says that in terms of the plane, okay, because that's what everyone's talking about. She says they were the majority on that part of the plane, like the cast and production. She says they came in loud, they were boisterous and all that. She said they stayed loud. She said she didn't think that Meredith's, freak out, or I can't remember what words Heather used, but whatever was it wasn't Marshall zip tie behavior. But that being said, she's like, let's just say we got celebrity treatment. So I think that's her way of saying like they knew us, they know what we do and our type of shenanigans, like that. She said that as well. Like she didn't say shenanigans, to be honest, but she did say they knew us and they know us and they know what we do. So she did say that. So the implication is like, Meredith had a meltdown, yes. However, we got special treatment because we're celebrities. That's pretty much what she said. And also that like it was pretty bad, but not Marshall zip tie bad. But then, as many have pointed out, us common folk will get Marshall zip tie for probably much less than whatever Meredith's meltdown was. But again, celebrity treatment, right? All right. Now, to go back to this airplane thing, there was some tea and a rumor floating around about this, like when this season was filming. Okay. And on the Bravo Real Housewives Reddit, somebody screenshotted like when this rumor was posted. And it was, if you look at it now, it's like 209 days ago. But I remember when this was floating around. I remember it being on Twitter, seeing tweets about it, people talking about it. Like, was Meredith kicked off a flight? Like, there was all this stuff and all these different stories. But okay, here was what it said. The rumor from when they were filming, and this was kind of like quote unquote leaked. So rumor, I saw on Twitter. Oh yes, Twitter. It was originally, and I remember seeing them. I saw on Twitter that Meredith and Brittany got into a huge fight and Meredith was suspended after calling her an anti-Semite and a pedophile. Okay, then there was an update. Bryce Sanders is saying it's not true on Twitter. Apparently what actually happened is that Meredith had a huge blow up after some of the ladies, led by Whitney, tried to film with Seth's alleged mistress. Okay. Then a commenter, okay, Reasonable Shallot 427, great name, said, I can speak to this misconstrued tweet, but not to whether Meredith was suspended. A local nail salon owner who flaunted Meredith Marks as his famous client was called out for his outright anti-Semitism. He reacted to a photo of me with my friend celebrating Hanukkah. And he said, and I'm not going to repeat it because it's like a gross thing to say. Anyways, and then he reached out to Brittany to leave him a positive review without giving her context after the community rallied against his salon. Pink Bubble Nail Salon. I have all the screenshots and I'm happy to post them. I reached out to Meredith and Seth, notifying them of what this crazy guy said to me. So my guess is Meredith may have brought it up to Brittany, but it was mixed up, but may have mixed up what the guy said. So I guess what they're trying to say is that maybe the fight on the plane was Meredith going in on Britney for like posting this positive review of this nail salon after the anti-Semitic things this guy said. And then they even have like there's screenshots of Britney's like review being like the best nails I ever had, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yeah, so people are sort of speculating that. Now, in terms of the whole like, Bryce Sanders thing and saying that Whitney tried to film with Seth's alleged mistress, I mean, that could be true too. I don't know. So these are kind of like the two possibilities that are floating around. I could see that. Like, I wouldn't put anything past Whitney. Whitney is like, she is always trying. She's always trying for something. Like we all remember, you exploited my vagina. Like she's just always going for something. So I could totally see her doing that. So I don't know. Anyways, just wanted to fill you guys in on these, rumors, as they say. Okay. Meredith did tweet last night after the episode, once a liar, always a liar. So there's that. Take that as you will. And Katie Janella from RHOC put on her Instagram story as a joke, I would have recorded. Which good one, Katie. Appreciate that. Good timing, good response, good everything. Love it. Okay. And speaking of RHOC, let's talk about it. Because Emily Simpson is getting called out for some hypocrisy. This happened last week. I kind of talked about it a little bit. I can't remember if it was on the news episode or the Patreon, but basically at Bravo Boo posted some screenshots of DMs with Emily says, Emily has asked me to post for her, so why is she coming for Katie? Okay. And let's read what they say. So basically Emily says, wait, that's Emily, right? Yeah. Okay. So Emily says, would you believe her loser agent / publicist posted shitty things about me after me saying things? By the way, this is my opinion and my perspective, which I am allowed to have when people are asking questions. That's what being a housewife is all about, sharing your opinion and your perspective and being real and authentic about it. You can choose to agree or disagree, but this is exactly how I feel. Okay. So this was Emily in an interview. She was talking about Alexis Bellino. Okay. And saying that basically, Alexis has nothing to offer the audience other than speaking badly about her cast. Okay. And then she reaches out to at Bravo Boo and says, would you believe that her publicist is posting shitty things about me after me saying this stuff? This is just my opinion. Right. Which again, is she wrong here? No. And then she also says her agent actually posted this. How completely unprofessional. And then there's like a screenshot of something that I guess Alexis's agent posted. And then Bravo Boo replies and is like, oh my God, no way, whatever. And then says, I am reposting it, but I will not say I got it from you. That is so low. Alexis is so insecure. It reeks off of her. And this stuff shows it even more. And then later, Bravo Boo looks like in response to a story that they sent to Emily, but we can't see it because it says story unavailable, says, I'm busy at the moment, but I'm going to make a post about the publicist because I'm really riding hard for Shannon right now. And then Emily says, don't feel obligated. I just wanted to share because I was so grossed out by it. And then Bravo Boo says, I'm not feeling obligated at all. I think they both match each other's energy and it's not going to last because she doesn't have the kind of money that blank requires. I can't see it because there's an arrow, but I'm assuming they're talking about John Jansen, I think. But yeah, so here's the thing. Does she outright ask her to post it? Like, does she say, here is this thing that Alexis's, what's it called? Publicist is saying about posting about me. Can you repost it to show that like Alexis and her publicist are like crazy or whatever? No, she doesn't say it explicitly like that. But does she send her something? Yes. Does she imply heavily that, she doesn't like this and that people should see it? and how upset she is. Also, yeah, it's implied. Okay, it's heavily implied. Okay, to the point that like the blogger in question is like, you know, I am reposting it, but I will not say I got it from you. And then she's like, oh, don't feel obligated. I just wanted to share it because I was so grossed out by it. Like, that's the oldest trick in the book. Like, you don't have to, but since you're going to, like, or you don't have to, it's just so gross. Like, it is like you are, like, this is the way that it happens. And I've been saying this about the whole Salt Lake City Lisa Barlow thing on my recaps on Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and Botox, which is that it's not usually explicit. It's not usually, can you post this, please? Okay. I hate this person. I want to make them look bad. Please post this. It's usually like, can you believe what this bitch did? Look at this. And then you hope that blank blogger, whoever, takes the bait and posts it. Or you message them a reaction and give them some tea, and you hope they put it out there. It's happened to me many, many times. And I don't usually post it. And if I want to, I usually ask. Because again, I'm not trying to get involved in all this, or I just talk about it on the Patreon. But here's the thing. And again, it doesn't happen to me like very often or anything like that. But, you know, I think other accounts who, you know, post stuff on their like feed that isn't just like memes like me and who engage in this more and do interviews and like they probably get a lot more of that, right? So that's why I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's not like as black and white as, you know, Salt Lake City, OC, that all these women, any housewives make it out to be. It's really not. Okay. Meanwhile, Katie and Tamra are, you know, pairing up to, they're creating a team, basically. So they had kind of like a watch party after the season. And guess who they hired to DJ? None other than Mike Shea, as in Sheena Shea's ex. Tamra is diabolical. Okay. Like, she is a true villain in real life and on the show, but mostly like she just knows how to be a villain. And she's at her absolute worst when she tries to not be a villain and pretend that everything she does is innocent. And she's at her best when she just leans into it like this and is like, you know what, Sheena, you're pissing me off. I don't like you. Here's your ex-husband. He's going to DJ my party and then he's going to play good as gold, which he did, by the way. He played good as gold. So, and, you know, F you. And that's the kind of villain, like, Tamra just needs to lean into that and stop trying to do this whole, like I'm actually the innocent victim. And like, she needs to stop with that because that's just annoying. Just be a villain and just be okay with it. Because that's, again, that's really the only thing she's really good at. Okay, so meanwhile, she is, like I said, assembling a team. She's reunited with Vicky. They posted it. She's like commenting on Vicky's story. Love you so much, sugar tits. That's such a Tamra thing to say. And then, you know, her and Emily, and then they're like taking pictures with like Joe, and then they're taking pictures with Alexis, and then all these other women that are like housewives looking type of women who could be new cast members maybe. And then people are like, yes, let's get them on the show. Like, Tamra is doing everything she can to try and push out that other group, which I don't necessarily need like I definitely don't need Vicky and Alexis on the show. I'm going to pass on that. But I definitely, and I don't need like all Tamra's friends coming on because that's never fun because then it's just like what, like a clique or something. But what we do need is just some new casting. Okay. And who we don't need is Gina and Emily. I'm good on them. And we definitely don't need Gretchen. So yeah, run along. So let's go to some Real Housewives of New Jersey news because we've got quite a bit. And the first thing is this is a good bridge from OC to New Jersey because this does kind of involve OC as well. But basically, Emily Simpson's wife swap episode aired, which, by the way, had the lowest ratings of all the housewives' wife swaps, just saying. And there is a shocking connection to the Gorgas because basically the woman that Emily swapped with was from New Jersey. And if you remember way back, this was, when was this? 2 years ago, maybe 3, maybe even more, but I think 2 or 3. Okay. Joe Gorga was posting this house on his Instagram and promoting his construction business and basically like showing this house to kind of say, like, we built this house, or like my company built this house, and like, look at it and whatever. And then he got called out by the homeowner, who were like, that's my house and your construction company did not build it and you had nothing to do with it. Like, stop using my house as the picture. Like, this is like false advertising. And then Joe Gorga took it down. Okay. That's the end of that story. And no one was surprised because there's always a lot of shady news about Joe Gorga's construction company. Okay. That was just like, it was like another drop in the bucket. So the woman, though, who was on it is the wife from who also is the owner of that house that Joe Gorga pretended. So she did one of those like get ready with me videos, and she was like, yeah, that was our house that Joe Gorga, like, you know, pretended to own. So here's my connection, my other connection to housewives. So yeah. Anyways, I thought that was funny. Small world, right? Meanwhile, on Jennifer Aydin's new podcast, TV Gold, she had Teresa and Gia on. And Teresa opened up about taking the baby steps towards reconciling with Joe and Melissa. She said that being on special forces and, again, I'm not sure, I guess it was hard. I don't know. Okay. And along with encouragement from Gia, that motivated her to let go of her anger and to kind of move past everything. So apparently, Gia urged Teresa to move past her old resentment that she had as well towards her ex, Joe Giudice. And then that made Teresa reflect on her feud with Joe and Melissa. She also says there was a touching moment that reinforced her desire to reconcile, which was that Adriana ran into Joe and Melissa's son, at a party, and they both got teary-eyed. Oh, that makes me sad for the kids. Now, all of that being said, that all sounds lovely. The only part of that I really believe is Adriana running into Joe and Melissa's son. I think that is true. However, do I believe all the other stuff? No. I think at the end of the day, for both sides, I think it came down to money. I think they both saw that the writing was on the wall. And I said this last week, I think. And I think that it was like, get along, get your shit together, or you're both fired. And I think that was it. And I think they both were like, okay, let's do it. And that's it. So, and maybe it's kind of one of those things like 2 birds with 1 stone. Like, we'll get our job and our money. And at the end of the day, we are family. So we'll also have our family back together in a way. You know? I don't know. That's what I think is happening. Okay. Meanwhile, it seems like this whole reuniting thing is maybe working, I guess, because Gia and Joe Gorga have refollowed each other on Instagram. And reportedly, there was like somebody who saw Melissa, Joe, and Teresa at a restaurant recently that they were at. And I can't remember. I think I saw that on Reddit, and that they, you know, were having like a serious discussion or whatever. So yeah, so allegedly that happened. Again, I don't know. That's like word on the street from like the internet. So I don't know 100%. But anyways, they've refollowed each other. And Louis and Joe Gorga have apparently also followed each other. Okay, so people are kind of taking that as like, okay, they made up and they're like, you know, they're refollowing each other. So again, I don't know if that'll save the show. I don't know. But there is someone who has a storyline, but no show as well. And that is Dolores Catania. Or I guess she's going to be changing her last name soon because she is engaged. Ooh, and this just happened today. Well, it didn't just happen today, but it was, the People story was released today. Okay. So Dolores and Polly, her longtime boyfriend, are engaged. They got engaged at the Apple store. No, I am not joking. In New Jersey on Monday, November 10th. Okay. She thought that they were just going to get her new iPhone, and instead she got an engagement ring. When Polly dropped down on one knee and popped the question in the same location the two met nearly 5 years earlier. So, yeah. So, even though it's an Apple store and it's kind of like least romantic thing ever, it is when they say that they met in the Apple store, that is kind of cute. So I'll give him that. And you know what? I think that's better than some cliche like we went for a walk on the beach and then there was all of a sudden a heart made out of roses and whatever. It's like I don't mind that. Like I kind of like a low-key proposal like that, even though it's not low-key because People magazine and a bunch of photographers were there. But anyways, he says, I could have proposed on a yacht in Greece. I could have rented a grand hall, invited 400 people, and asked her to marry me with fireworks in the background, but that's not who we are. I didn't want anything over the top and staged because we're a humble couple. I wanted it to accept People magazine, right? One of the biggest. Okay, anyways. And again, I'm not trying to shit all over what he's saying because, like, I do kind of enjoy that he picked a place that had a meaning to them as a couple rather than just like some random whatever. But like, okay, let's not pretend this is like so humble. But he's getting engaged to a real housewife. So there's only so humble it can be, I guess. I wanted it to feel grounded and natural and organic. Plus, I wanted the element of surprise. And believe me, I had the element of surprise. In fact, and then the article says Catania was completely clueless as to what was happening, as seen clearly in her expression captured by photographer Jennifer Sophia. Catania says, but like, how do you have all the photographers and all that stuff? And I mean, I guess they could be hiding and then they could pop out. I have known people who've gotten engaged and their person had like a photographer waiting around the corner. So I guess that is possible. I mean, she's not super dressed up. I will say that. She's wearing a sweatsuit and sneakers, but her hair and makeup are all done. But maybe that's what she does. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive and they're pulling a fast one on me. Who knows anymore, guys? But, either way, happy for Dolores and Polly. It's a good ting, as Polly would say. Okay. So that's all for New Jersey. Let's see. What else do we have? We have a little bit of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills news, actually, because kind of on the tail of everybody talking about like the Garcelle Sutton thing again, they recently were both at a premiere together. Okay. At the same time, not together. Okay. They were on the same red carpet and happened to be on this red carpet at the same time, seriously, like a few feet apart, and kind of a photographer from like higher up captured, and they are like a stone throw away from each other, like really close. But not speaking, not making eye contact. And Garcelle is posing and facing her back to Sutton. Sutton is posing like straight towards all the cameras and paparazzi. And Garcelle is, you can tell, purposely like kind of on a slant so that, or like facing slightly askew so that she is not, even seeing Sutton in her peripheral. So clearly the two of them are not speaking or acknowledging each other. And it does make me sad. Like, even though I think like I'm on Garcelle's side and I think, don't give her the time of day and all that kind of stuff, there is also that part of me that is like, they were so good as like a friendship couple. And I just wish Sutton could be not so self-involved and annoying. Okay, let's go to some Potomac news because I am hearing that Karen Huger, according to at the RHOA Talk, Karen Huger will be attending Bravocon next week, which is now this week. It was next week when they posted this, sorry. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I'm happy that she'll be attending Bravocon, of course. I don't have this like 100% confirmed. Like, it's not like Bravo has said this or Andy or anything, but that's kind of the word on the street right now. This would be kind of a wild way for her to like transition back into this public life. But I mean, she did film for the show and those episodes are going to be coming. So I could see her maybe kind of soft launching this and maybe answering some questions, but I would assume not maybe from the audience, because I don't know if you can like trust just giving mics to people and see what they're going to say. Like maybe if it's like a panel and, you know, I don't know. I mean, she's going to have to answer questions about this. That's the thing. And she does know that. So maybe that was an agreement to come back on the show. But no, I don't even think she would need that because Bravo would want her. I think she's not like a Jen Shaw, like I think they would want her back on the show. I think they would want the aftermath of this back on the show. And Karen is such a iconic housewife in that way. So yeah, anyways, we shall see because the weekend's almost here. Bravocon's going to be here. By the way, head to @Bravo and Botox and make sure you follow at the Bravo Papers, of course, because I will have all the coverage of Bravocon. And I do it every year and share every single possible piece of information, news, tea, etc. on my Instagram story. And then I save it into highlights so you will not miss anything. And then I'll have it all with my commentary on the news next week for sure. We'll have a full Bravocon episode probably. Unless, something else outside of Bravocon happens that's big, but Bravocon always brings lots of drama, which we love. In other Potomac news, it looks like Mia Thornton seems to be kind of angling to get back on the show because she commented on Ashley's Instagram story and said, "Oh, so pretty. I know we're not on good terms, but girl, you ate this look. Keep shining." And people have noticed that she's commented a couple times on former castmates things like in this kind of like suck uppy kind of way. So people are like, is she trying to like get back in with the ladies and get back on the show? Here's the thing though, you can suck up to Ashley all day long. You can suck up to everybody all day long. Wendy, Stacy, whoever you want. At the end of the day, if you called Giselle's daughters whores, which allegedly you did and whatever, you're done. Like you're never like if Giselle is like it's just not going to happen. Okay? Not going to happen. Right. And speaking of Bravocon, actually, we do have a little bit of news from that. Andy has said on his Radio Andy show that Bravocon is actually going to be streaming live all weekend on Peacock, which is pretty great. So if you cannot go to Bravocon or you couldn't get tickets or whatever the case is, you can still feel like you're there. And I feel like it'll almost be better because you don't have to like be tired and pay thousands of dollars. You can sit on your bed. Not that being there in person isn't like so cool or anything. Like I would love to do that. But, just being there and watching it or just being at home in your comfy bed and streaming it is great too. So you can do that on Peacock and, on HeyYou and some of those streaming services for those of you who are outside of the US. They do usually add the panels and stuff to like episodes of the panels and stuff to HeyYou, and then people are always like filming with their phones and those will be all over Instagram, all over my Instagram, definitely. So yeah, so anything important and noteworthy and worth knowing, it'll get to you. Let's just say that. Last piece of news here. This is just general Bravo news as well. The housewives are entering the Traitors Castle on January 8th. Okay. So the Traitors is going to start. And if you needed a reminder, we have Lisa Rinna, Dorinda Medley, Candace Dillard, Caroline Stanbury, and Portia Williams. I think that's a good housewives crew. I really do. I mean, Candace, I think, will be really great to watch at a round table. Portia, too, actually. Actually, all of them. They'll all be great at a round table. There's not one of these women who I wouldn't say I'm very excited to see at the round table. Stanbury will be like dry and sarcastic. Portia will be funny. Candace will be funny. And she'll also have reads. Dorinda will be crazy. Rinna will be like also crazy in a different way. So I just think it's going to be, I'm excited. I'm very excited. I will be watching this season for sure. Okay, everybody. I think that's all for today. So thank you so much for joining me, and looking forward to talking to you all again next week for a very special Bravocon news episode. Looking forward to that and to all the, whatever is going to come this weekend, because it's going to be some kind of craziness will be happening. And you are now in the know for everything Bravo. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Your support really means everything to me, and this show wouldn't be possible without you, the listeners. So please, if you enjoy the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. For more, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com/BravoandBotox, and for $5 a month, you'll get 4 extra podcast episodes a month. You'll also get early releases of Bravo Paper episodes and more. Please also subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Bravo Papers and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Bravo and Botox and at The Bravo Papers. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can at buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox. Send your love through some much needed caffeine. And any guest that was on today's episode will be in the show notes, all their social media and contact information. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep overanalyzing Bravo.